What's going on, peoples, and welcome to the Time Machine, because today we are talking about the Goonies. The movie that made it absolutely impossible not to shout out. But in all honesty, this movie is fun, and also very 80s, like all the way 80s. The acting from the adults is a little over the top, the hard pushing and random monologues. However, the acting from the kids surprisingly holds up a lot better. And I do have to say, you fall in love with these kids pretty quick, mainly because they act like kids, real kids, not Disney children. They're loud, they're kind of annoying to each other. It feels like what kids are really like. But ironically, the dialogue doesn't feel like it's exclusively written for children. And if you haven't seen this movie in a while, you're probably going to be a little shocked by the fact that a movie made in the 80s had kids cursing this much in it.
Oh, shit! It's
Shit, Ma.
And it's not just the cursing. These kids are doing dumb shit the whole time, because they're mostly unsupervised children, and the movie plays on the fact that they're unassuming. Like when Chunk is being interrogated by the Fratellis.
My mom sent me to a summer camp for fat kids, and then once during lunch I got nuts, and I pigged out, and they kicked me out.
Like, it's so unreasonable what's going on, but one of the guys is just laughing because it's so ridiculous. And it plays to the whole story, like how no one believes anything Chunk says, or Mikey's unwavering belief in the hidden treasure and his ability to get his friends to follow him. And I think a lot of that is because of the acting. Sean Astin, even as a kid, was just a great actor. And you can tell the director knew it because the heartfelt moments were almost exclusively given to him to deliver. And it makes it so believable that the other characters would follow him. The comedy, boy, is very hit or miss. And it mostly misses when it's selling a joke. Instead of like a natural occurrence to the story, like the bit with Chunk and the ice cream.
Ma, this is a doubloon.
Give it to me.
I told you so. See you guys? You never believed. I said that they were gonna be buried.
But speaking of characters, and particularly the child actors, they all pretty much shine in this movie. But there are some notable ones like Data, the child of a gadget maker. He feels like a foreign exchange student at times, and not just because of his accent, but the way he's used as like a utility kit for the movie. But his accent and how they use it for comedic purposes actually holds up quite a bit.
Tanner, where are you going?
I'm setting booby traps.
Booby traps.
That's what I said. I'm setting booby traps in case of anybody's following us.
The only thing about him was that they never really gave us a one sentence explanation as to why a child who seemingly is born in America has such a thick accent. So I guess it was just left to our own imagination. But then there's Mouth, who is definitely that one friend who talks so much trash you wonder why you hang out with him. Like, my man is giving it to everyone. And Corey Feldman is an absolute clown in this movie. In a good way. Like, homeboy is saying the most absurd things to this house cleaner.
La moto va nene primer cajón. La coca y la rapidez va nene segundo. La heroína en de abajo. Está lleno de los instrumentos de tortura sexual del señor Walsh.
And then there's the Fratellis. Specifically Jake, who's my favorite bad guy out of the trio. As much of a bad guy as he was, he also kind of felt like he'd be cool to hang out with. Like, he'd have a couple drinks and start singing to the bartender or something. Anyway, all of those guys, and I mean all of them, fail to live up to Sloth, who is probably the most iconic character in this movie. He doesn't get a whole bunch of screen time, but you kind of fall in love with him in the brief buddy cop bit that him and Chunk have together. And as a kid, he's kind of what you hope for, like a grown-up with a child heart. Although I will say, watching this as an adult, I pray that child did not bring that man home to his family. Hell no. Hell no. This dude is pulling chains out the wall and holding boulders up. Like, nah, you can visit him, but he's not staying with us. And that's just one of the questions I had about this movie. Like, what kind of economic plague hit this city that all of a sudden these people are all losing their homes at once? It does work though. And I think it works really well for the story because the stakes for these kids are so big, and the more and more you see them interact, you don't want them to split up. But overall, what I think made this movie so enjoyable was that it was an adventure story. But the adventure felt like you can have it too. Like it's possible to find a treasure map and you and your buddies could go off and find it. There isn't some high fantasy element to it, and the stakes are really easy to understand whether you're a child or an adult. Also, the dynamics between the characters felt genuine. Like Brad and Mikey's sibling relationship made me really believe that these guys could be brothers. Even Data and his quirks felt at home with the group he was with. The movie hit a sweet spot with how those relationships would probably work and made the characters distinct enough for a viewer to identify with someone. But the question is, does it hold up? Kinda. If you take away the nostalgia, it does have some really cringe moments. But I don't think it supersedes the overall viewing experience of the film. It's just one of those things that make you really aware of when this movie was made, and it does feel a little dated. But if you grew up with it and have a kid of your own, this is a great adventure movie for the whole family. Definitely recommend. Well, if you guys liked the video, please leave a like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think. Peace.